shook me, eh? I'm just carrying on a bit. You're an animal. Whether you are watching us on YouTube or listening to us on your favourite podcast platform, welcome back to the Talk Hub podcast.
Kurto, we are back on another one.
We're here to do it again, brother.
We were meant to have a guest on this one, and we'll get into that shortly, but it's just the two of us. Things didn't quite work out the way we planned.
What's the saying? The best made plans, something.
Yeah, something like that.
You've
I don't know the yeah. I've heard the saying. I don't know what it is. I always just say, best laid plans and all that, and everyone knows what you mean.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the saying either.
That's all right. It's not important.
No.
Bit of a rush one today. You got some stuff to do, so we're just squeezing this one in.
Yeah, which is a recurring theme in our life at the moment, isn't it? Just trying to squeeze them in where we can.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, but we're here, mate. We show up. That's the main thing. Look, I don't want to mess around too much, mate. Let's get straight into our first segment.
That off the bat, are you? Just going to hit it.
Yeah.
This week's hot topic.
That's hot.
Yeah. This week's hot topic. It's no surprise, Kurto. Should come as no surprise that the hot topic of this week, I won't say this month because it's probably already yesterday's news, but this week is the Boyup Brook Auction
Circus.
Circus.
Yeah.
My goodness. Now, this is what I was saying. We were meant to have a guest. While Deacon, a.k.a. Commodoreman, was essentially in our backyard, we were hoping to get him on for a pod. Not necessarily about the auction either. It just so happens that the auction is now clouded in scandal. But we just wanted to get him on and have a chat. Now, in the end, there's a bit of a miscommunication maybe, in that he thought we were closer to the airport, whereas we were probably more so on his way back to the airport from the auction location. So didn't quite work out. And then he had to, you were going to be going on night shift that night anyway. And I was at work. Don't tell my boss. I was going to be at work, and I was basically just going to carve out a bit of time so that we could get the potty cracked off. And he ended up close to the airport, which is an hour and a half away from us, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, it was. My wife's been super crook as well, so it might have only been a solo mission anyway. But the thought was there, and he said he'll jump. He said he's coming over again soon, so hopefully we can make that one happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It was look, it was a bit unfortunate. Like you say, timing was probably poor for us in our life outside of the podcast anyway, but we would have made it happen if it was there for the taking. However, Deacon is now back in Geelong, which is quite the trek.
Yeah.
And he's not on. But like you say, we've been in good contact with him, and he's coming back to Perth at some point, so we'll crack it off then. However, Boyup Brook Auction, I made the trek down there.
I didn't. Surprise.
Yeah. Who would have
That's
thought?
really weird, Kurt. You didn't.
Yeah. Kurt didn't go somewhere or do something.
Fuck, that's weird. Yeah.
You did have a legitimate...
You're like a single parent in this thing, aren't you?
I
You're
am.
just fucking holding on by a thread.
Yeah. If...
Deadbeat dad.
Yeah. If doing this just contained staying at home, we'd be fine. But when you have to go places to see things, Kurto's a little bit...
I'm always
challenged.
I've got other things going on.
Yeah. Well, you were at work.
And look, even if I wasn't, like I said, my wife has been really, really unwell. So there is zero chance, no matter what, that I would have. I can guarantee you that much.
Yeah.
So it was kind of good that I didn't commit to that one.
Let's just go through what the auction was. If you weren't aware, Deacon, aka Commodoreman, he was pretty heavily involved in the marketing on the lead up, and that was because there were a stack of Commodores, shitloads, metric fuck tons of Commodores in one space, and it wasn't a wrecker.
It looked like a fucking wreck
It
yard.
did look like a wrecking yard from some angles, but it was not a collection of, an auction houses taken cars from a whole bunch of different people. This was from one vendor on a property down in the deep south, and there was a lot there. If you've seen the vlog, if you haven't seen the vlog, you can go to our main channel, Talk Hub Media, and I've put up I think it's about a 40-minute vlog there where you can see a lot of what was there. But yeah, I've kind of divided it into two sections as far as cars is concerned. You've got donor vehicles, aka wrecks and shit boxes. Some of these like burnt, crashed, bent, no engines. All of them had some kind of redeeming feature, whether it be had a nice interior or maybe still had an engine in it, or it was mostly complete. And, maybe you could get 2 or 3 cars and make one half decent car out of them if you had the skills. And a lot of them went for cheap. There was people that were picking up cars for $2, $5, $10. And there was one in particular, there was a VL, and which is weird because I'm not even a VL guy, but it was white and it had the right amount of patina on it. And it had an RB30 sitting in the engine bay. And I'm like, ooh, that kind of looks tasty. Ended up going for $300. Now, look, I do not need any further distractions as far as projects go.
No, not at all.
So
not at all.
Yeah. Ask me, I guess, I don't know. What do you want to know about it, Kurt? Because I can just sit here and talk, but what do you want to know about it? Because I assume that what you would want to know is about the same as what other people would want to know.
I think I've known enough, really. Like,
from watching
it was
the vid?
just a ton of the whole thing doesn't make a shitload of sense to me in the end now, knowing what we know. It seemed like there was a fucking lot of effort to go to get a lot of people there. There was literally only a small handful of decent cars there, really.
Yeah.
That I could, obviously, I've watched in the video. I haven't even really spoken to you.
No.
I just watched the video you did and sort of had a look, and it just seemed like there was a lot of effort put in by, I don't know, a few people anyway, to get a lot of people there to then not put like all the good stuff that they had, like, which was only another couple of cars and a few nice intake manifolds and stuff. So that was sort of where, I don't know, it would have left a bit of an off taste in some people's mouth. Would have anyway if I had made the effort to go there, hoping to see or have an opportunity to bid on some of the stuff. It's almost like they just honeypotted.
Yeah.
Is what they did, really.
Yeah. So there was a section of the auction which I kind of called 5 litre alley, because most of these cars, there was a couple of other bits and pieces, but most of them were second gen Commodores, injected 5 litre V8. A lot of them were 5-speed manual. There were a few automatics, but you could tell that this bloke, he had a type. He had a type of car that he liked. There were some that you could tell they were recent, cheap, maybe DIY closed door resprays. Some of them that definitely needed resprays. Some of them you weren't sure if they ran or not. There were some that they started during the auction, which obviously helped bump the price up a little bit as well. But when I say nice cars, there probably weren't really any.
No, that's
they
what
all
I thought.
needed work.
Yeah, I looked, from what I seen, I was like, not really that impressed.
They
really.
all needed work. Even so there were 3 probably desirable vehicles from my point of view. There was cars there that I could definitely see potential in, but if you were just going there because you wanted to buy a good car that, could make a return one day, who knows. There was a VNSS, a VN Calais, which was a factory 5-speed manual, which is exceptionally rare. You wouldn't see that very often. We know
that's one for the VIN plate people, isn't it? The ones
it really is.
They'll get on one of the Facebook groups and go, how many fucking 5-speed VN Calais were made in 89? Like, fucking, ugh.
Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was one there which actually brought more money than the SS did, which was surprising. And then there was a VPSS, which had 170,000 Ks on it, and that one was a fairly tidy car. The VNSS needed a respray. The VN Calais could have done with a respray as well, and a couple other minor fixes. The VPSS, from what I saw, looked pretty good. The door cards have been bastardised because someone had put some door pods on there and put some speakers in.
Standard
Yeah,
90s
yeah.
shenanigans
Yeah,
there, early
normal-
2000s.
Normal stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that was a nice car. Went for under the hammer at $27,000, which,
Did it though?
well, that is a point of conjecture.
I guess we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
27. I don't know.
It's a bit much. Yeah, it's a bit much. There was some other creators down there, in Dave from Bag Q Garage, he was there. Phil from Aussie Garage, James from ProShine was there, his mate from Static White Walls, and Velocity Auto Detailing. Like the people who kind of know 5 litres were on the property, really. Like the people that we follow and sort of roughly
Probably
our
hoping
demographic.
that the other nicer cars were going to come out, which they didn't.
Yeah, I think they were hoping that the nicer cars were nicer than they were. Speaking to a couple of people, they said, yeah, they were keen to put a bid on the VPSS, but not for the price that it ended up going for, which is interesting. But yeah, of the cars that didn't make it to the auction block, but were filmed in the lead up to the auction, one was a CV8 Monaro, one was an Atlas Grey VNSS that stayed in the shed for no one to see. And there was also a genuine VN Clubby, which had a Group A twin throttle body manifold on it. That also stayed in the shed.
VN or VL manifold?
It's a good question. I think it was a VN manifold, but I can't remember. I didn't get close enough to see it in person, because it was sort of kept down the back of the shed and withdrawn from the auction. Now, there are a lot of people who, after, say, that the 5 litre alley auctions had gone through, there were people going, right, are these cars coming out or not? Because it was kind of are you just going to leave them to the end? Is this going to be a thing, or are they actually being withdrawn? Now, what we were told by someone on site was that the vendor had withdrawn them from the auction to invite offers for private sale. Bit of a... Now, I don't know.
He's trying to have his cake and eat it too. He's like, done all this, built everything up to get everyone there, but then doesn't want to, what's he trying to do? Avoid the auction fee, or is he just worried that he's not going to get the money that he wants? It's kind of why do a big huge build up and then not auction it off? It makes zero sense.
Yeah,
you might as
I
well
agree.
just put the fucking thing on Marketplace or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're going to get it to a lot more different people.
So even with an auction, you can have some level of security by setting a reserve price, right? So why not still bring those draw card vehicles out just with a reserve? Let it be known, look, these vehicles will be sold under reserve. Well, not under reserve. They'll be sold with a reserve. So they can be passed in. And there were cars there that did get passed in. You know what I mean? So there was no reason to not do it. So my thought is that it was withdrawn from auction to try and circumnavigate the auctioneer's commission or fees.
Still makes zero sense because you've already
But
invested time and
you've got
money
the
to get
people
people there.
Yeah, but the people are there, right? So the people are on site. So now you can just go, well, the people are here anyway. If they want to make an offer, they can make an offer. I feel like you got a higher chance of sale of getting people caught in the FOMO under the auction hammer.
Definitely, if there's someone there. But we live in a day and age where everyone has that phone in their pocket. Just put the fucking thing online and you'll get, 100 times more exposure.
Yeah.
It just doesn't really make much sense to me, no matter which way you slice it. It makes no sense to me, other than the dude's I'm not even going to say it, but yeah. He's just a bit of a cooker, it seems like, really. And
Yeah.
I don't, yeah.
So, the giant scandal being the Honda CR500 motorbike. We believe this one's a 2001 model. We believe it's 0 hour,
No, we don't. We don't believe it's 0
Well,
hour.
sorry, we're led to believe.
It's alleged.
Yeah, we're led to believe. It's pretty clear to me. So everyone, all right, bit of back. So I went for $81,000 under the hammer. That was what the bid was. It was called once, twice, all silent, sold.
And it's worth mentioning that the guy that won the bidding on the VPSS for 27 also won the bidding for the CR500 at $81,000. So just keep that in mind moving forward on the story.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, 81 grand. You'd be thinking that's absolutely mental. Now, there was Kaplan Cycles in the US had a new old stock crated CR500. This thing has never been removed from the crate. Sold online, $78,100 US dollars, which is about 100. I think at that day's exchange rate was about 122 grand Aussie. So to say that this one set a record, it didn't. You know, like there's been more expensive bikes. Some people I've seen in the comments are getting confused. They're thinking that someone's bought, or the vendor bought that bike on eBay, bought it to Australia and then sold it at auction. No, these are two separate bikes, 100%.
And it's obvious if you look at the pictures of both of them.
That's right. If you look at the crate of the Kaplan Cycles bike and then you look at how this one was presented, this bike was not new in crate. 100% was not, because when they come in the crate, there's no front wheel attached, there's no handlebar attached. Now, look, full disclosure, I am not a vintage two-stroke aficionado. I'm not an expert, but I can tell you I've learnt more about CR500s this week than I ever thought I would want to. But, you know, I've seen bikes in crates before. They come, no front wheel, no handlebars. That's just for packaging,
Yeah,
right?
because this thing didn't even have the actual like lid on it. It was just in a factory
It was just
crate.
on a skid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like just the shitty ass metal framing that they come in.
Yeah.
No actual like wood or cardboard covering it. You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Now, people will go, it can't be new because it's got the front wheel on it and it's got towels around the tyres. Now, to me, that doesn't say that it's not new. It could be.
it's just not as crated.
That's
hey?
right. It's not as it's not new as crated. It is could still be new, unused. They've just put the front wheel on it and, you know, for display, I guess. The towels that have been cable tied on it, people are going like, "Oh, you're a dickhead for not, you know, thinking it's new because of this." And I'm like, "Well, obviously the owner's done that for storage or whatever." The thing that some of the really eagle-eyed have sort of pointed out is that it had XL rims, which apparently is not stock, and it possibly had different plastics than what would normally
Oh,
come.
really?
Yeah, or someone said the side plastics were a bit different than what you'd think. If you're a train spotter, these are the things that you would maybe pick up on. Again, I'm not an aficionado, so wouldn't have been totally obvious to me. So is there scope that this is still a brand new bike? Or is this a restored bike that's been put back on a crate? There's some conjecture there.
I think, knowing what we know now, it's guaranteed it's been dressed up just like the auction.
Yeah.
It's been dressed up to present as something that it wasn't. And he's just trying to get what he can.
It was covered
Get to
in,
the juicy stuff.
it was
Jeff.
covered in the dust and all, and people saying that it's got, you know, wear on the sprockets and wear on the brake discs, and even though the brake discs still had the factory covers on them and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It's the bike was 3 deep in people all day. So I pretty much just walked up, got a couple of shots for the vlog, and walked off. I didn't have the room or the space to sort of look at it in detail, and I wouldn't have really known what I was looking at.
All the desire, probably.
Yeah,
as
I
well,
wouldn't
yeah.
have known what I was looking at anyway. So, yeah. Now, like you say, juiciness.
Yeah, we need to just get that out.
Bike has gone under the hammer for $81,000, whether it's legit or not. Now, the day following the auction, obviously people are coming to collect their stuff. Not everyone bought a car trailer or a truck on the day. You had, I think it was 7 days to collect, you know, after the auction. There was a bit of a grace period there. So Old mate has come to collect the bike. Deacon has received a phone call from the vendor to say the bike has been stolen. It's been stolen. It's alleged by the vendor that the highest bidder has come to collect the bike, loaded it on a trailer, and taken it, but hasn't paid for it. Kurt.
Allegedly.
This spread across the internet like absolute wildfire. My phone was going into meltdown. Yours was probably doing the same. Notifications left, right, and center.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what's happened? The highest bidder now, have they...
Allegedly. Just tell them the alleged story of what you've been told as to why this has happened.
It was claimed... So I saw a video that was posted in the comments by the vendor. And I know it was the highest bidder. I know it was the highest bidder because the highest bidder was standing next to me when he made the bid. So I looked at it going, hey, that's that guy. Anyway, he claims that the bike was sold under private sale prior to the auction.
The day before.
Whether it was the day before or not.
Well, he said it was the day before. It doesn't matter.
Whether it was paid for the day
auction.
before, whatever, yeah. Claimed to have purchased it under private sale prior to the auction. Funds were transferred. Now, he says that the vendor needed like some portable toilets and, some bits and pieces to make the event happen, right? You need certain things to get your like council approval for event. I'm sure that's probably what it was. Needed some, whether it be traffic management, whether it be portable toilets, that kind of thing. Needed some cash to get that done. Old mate stuck his hand up and said, yeah, all right, I'll give you some cash. Actually, I'll buy that bike. That'll give you the money to do the thing. Now, if that happens, I guess in their mind, as long as they win the auction on the day, it doesn't matter what the price is, then it's all good, right? Because you're not going to pull the bike from the auction and tell everybody that it's not available because, again, no one's going to turn up. So keep the bike there, keep the people walking in the door and just stage the auction. This is a hypothesis. This is alleged. So long as you win the bid, then you take the bike home because you've already bought it, right?
And this has come from the guy that won the bid, so it's not like you're just getting it off, your uncle's, cousin's, brother's story. Like, this is what he said, so this is like...
And this is what
there's no reason, this guy has no reason to...
This is what they posted online.
Exactly.
So, which blows my mind anyway, right? But anyway, so what would be the motive there?
For him to... So this is what I can make up.
Well, what's the motive from the vendor to report it now stolen?
Because there probably was some other people that didn't know that it was already sold, and they bidded it up to, I don't know how much, I doubt that there was someone willing to pay whatever it got up to, the 40s or whatever, but I could be wrong, but essentially I feel like the guy that owned the bike was happy to sell it for whatever the amount was, and then when it's gone to auction and he's realised, shit, I could have gotten way more off all these other people. No, you can pay me more now because there was other people bidding it up, and he's seen that he's like, fuck, I've left
Undersold
10,
himself.
20, 30, 40, 50 grand on the table when I really should have just put it to auction properly like I was supposed to. So he's probably tried to squeeze old mate for some more coin because he's realised he's fucking shot himself in the foot. And this is just this is just what I'm pulling out of thin air, more or less, with the information that I have. So that's what I feel like he would have done. He's gone, fuck, I've left a heap of money on the table here selling this thing before the auction. I'm going to squeeze this bloke. And that's what's happened. The guy's rocked up and thought, fuck you, I paid for this thing already. I've got the bank account information and all that stuff.
Allegedly.
And he's squeezing me for money. Fuck it. As soon as he walks off, I'm just going to gap it. And it is what it is. That's what I would do. I would just take off. So I feel like that's what it's done. And then he's gone, nah, it's stolen, blah, 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 kicking and screaming. That's what it seems. That's sort of common sense is what's telling me. What do you think?
Yeah.
That's sort of like, that's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah. When you sort of look at it that way, the vendors done himself out of some money and he's trying to recoup. Now, where this sort of gets a bit funky now, on the day, I registered as a bidder, not because I was really going to buy anything of high value, but if something did pique my interest and I had a couple of coins rolling in my pocket, I may have bought something. So I did register as a bidder. When you do that, you had to rock up, you had to give them or show them photo ID so you could be verified as being who you were, as well as fill out a form, you know, name, address, email, blah, 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 all the things. And it had all the conditions on there saying that responsibility is transferred at the fall of the hammer. You know, all sales are final.
All the normal auction shit.
3.75% buyer's premium applies to the plus GST on the invoice. So, you know, there's all these things and you sign at the bottom. So now that becomes a contract, right? So if this buyer has registered as a bidder and they have participated in the auction, do they now not have his
obligations,
his bidding registration to say, no, actually, you need to cough up?
Yeah, it kind of seems like both parties to this hadn't thought it through to its full extent, because they're kind of both fucked in a way.
Oh,
you know,
100%.
if you look down.
I'm certainly no lawyer, and I'm sure this is getting really lawyery at this point, and the cops are probably involved, and you know, everyone's kind of gone real quiet on it, which makes me think that there's going to be some legal action taking place. But there's got to be some fraudulent activity on both sides, and in which case, who gets done? Is it the person who faulted first, or the person who faulted worst? Yeah,
or both. You know, what's the saying? 2 wrongs don't make a right?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. What a shit show, but it's just like made the whole thing. It could have been like a really cool thing. He could have just put all the stuff out there, auctioned it like it was supposed to be done.
Yep.
Would have been
legendary.
I just feel like if you don't want to put it on marketplace to get the bet, like, you know, feel it out, why even like, you've done the auction, so do the auction. Like, it's like he didn't know what the fuck he was trying to achieve, you know?
Yeah.
And he knew what stuff was worth. So, like, this guy wasn't letting any... There was nothing... You know when you sort of, like, you'll let some things go and this and that, and you'll make it up here and there. There was... From what I heard from a few people, there was none of that. Like, he wanted top dollar for basically everything that he had.
Yeah. Market... Yeah. He probably wanted market value for most things.
Yeah.
Which... Yeah, there were cars there which had some really nice parts on them. You know, they all had a redeeming feature. You know, all of them had a redeeming feature as to why they were being sold. You'd buy them for different reasons, but yeah, like you say, the auction could have gone down as something quite special. It could have been a single vendor with a giant collection, and it could have been pretty cool. It's now been tainted. And unfortunately, for someone like Deacon, who obviously put themselves out there, I believe he was approached by the vendor, like, hey, I've got a bunch of cars you might be interested in, whatever. And then he's now put himself out to say, hey, I'll help you out with the auction if I can film some content on these cars. Perfect scenario, right? As a content creator, he gets to go there, do some coverage, help out with the auction. You know, it's good for his brand, because Commodoreman, it's in the name, you know.
And he's got a good following from what I understand. So probably has a lot to do with why there was so many people there.
Yep.
I would assume.
Yep. And I think the vendor has played that to their advantage exceptionally.
That's probably
well.
about the only thing they did do well.
Yep.
Was utilize Commodoreman to his fullest extent, and just it was lucky for the vendor that Deacon did, you know, what he told him he was going to do, and he delivered probably tenfold on what he was given.
I get the feeling, and look, it'd be up to Deacon to sort of say this, and I was hoping he'd be on the podcast so he could say it himself, but I feel like after speaking with him on the day and sort of messaging back and forth, I feel like what he signed up for and what he ended up having to do were two very different things. I think what the idea was like I say, he could do some coverage on some cars. All these cars have been stored on a farm for donkey's ages, right? So they were filthy. So he's stuck his hand up and said, I'll wash all the cars. I'll try and get as many of these things running as I can, because some of them have been sitting for longer than a decade. You know, they've been sitting for donkey's ages. So you're probably having to like clean fuel tanks or put fresh fuel in and ungum some injectors and put batteries in and all the yucky stuff, all the shit that no one wants to do. So he stuck his hand up and said, I'm going to wash the cars. I'm going to try and get as many of these things running as I can and, you know, help you with the auction. He was a busy boy. He was certainly
Which is probably how the miscommunication ended up happening as to how we didn't make it come together in the end.
Yeah.
Because he was flat stick.
Yeah, 100%. And now, unfortunately for him, because the experience of the auction was so tainted, he's now copping the flack for it, because he was the front man, right? He put his name and his face on it. Now everyone's going, well, you know, it was all fucking dodgy. It was a scam and, you know, all this stuff. And where's the bike? And you had something you must know where it is and what happened to it, blah, blah, blah. The poor fella's getting absolutely pumped. And of course, he posts a story, you know, a day and a half after going, hey guys, I'd love to get back to you, but I'm at the airport, which obviously just stirs up more people. Oh, why are you running and flying? The guy lives in fucking Victoria. He's got to go back at some point. Like, yeah. So, I don't know. I feel for the guy. And that just probably, it'll be a learning exercise. It's a learning exercise for us, and we had nothing to do with it, thank fuck. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it kind of just highlights to you that a gentleman's agreement doesn't mean jack shit. You're going to have contracts in place. You need to have expectations, limit of responsibility. All these things have to be outlined if you're going to do it. Like, holy shit. And I'm sure there'd be people like, I guess, like Tough Streeters and, you know, Keep It REIT, those guys who hold large-scale events, they would have people that help them out, and all of that would have to be outlined. They'd probably be able to weigh in pretty heavy on, like, if you were going to do an event like that, this is what you need. And I think it was probably a mixture of ambition and inexperience, which has kind of landed him in some hot water.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a massive effort, because this auction was supposed to go off for a long time. I got added to a Facebook group probably over 6 months ago, 7 months ago at least, and it was called Kev's Farm Stuff. So I don't know why it was called that, but that's what it was. And that's when I was actually, when I first got added to it, there was, pictures of like...
Group A manifolds.
Yeah, there was a Giacolotto, like twin throttle, just the plenum part, the top half. There was a VN twin throttle manifold, a VL one, and then, it started rolling through. At that point, there was, I think, 3 CR500s.
Yeah.
All the, you know, lots of different stuff. A lot of it was in poor condition, and I've already got everything I could ever want, so I wasn't that interested. But this has been going on for like a long time, so it just seems like a lot of effort to get rid of like shit. Like a lot of those cars were just fucking shit. What wouldn't you just, half of them I would have just never even grabbed them to begin with. And then what was there, if you want a top dollar, put it on fucking Marketplace or on car sales or wherever you wanna, and just fucking do it that way, and you can ride it out. But instead, you know, you're wasting all these people's time. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty wild.
It's just a big fucking waste of time, really.
It's drawn a hell of a lot of attention. Like, so whilst I was filming the vlog and the auction was happening, I managed to capture 24 seconds, the last 24 seconds of the auction, on my phone. When I got back into Signal, because this is in the sticks, this is in the middle of fucking nowhere. Once I got back into Signal, I posted that on our Facebook page because I was like, I couldn't believe that bike went for 80 grand. It was fucking insane. 1 million views overnight. 1 million views overnight, which was absolutely wild. We've had a couple of videos reach maybe 300, 400, 500,000. It's very rare that happens, but to get 1 million in one night blew my face off. And then obviously the theft thing. So then you've got people like Kale from, was it MWMX?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's now put in, wow. All right. So he's gone up and said, I'll offer the highest bidder, or the bloke that's got the bike, 90 grand today. You can have it.
Till midnight.
Till midnight. I'll buy it for 90 grand and then I'll give it away. It was all, you know, people are going, why the fuck would you, pay a thief and because it's not clear what the fuck's going on at this point, but everyone's like, why would you pay a thief? Why would you want that bike? It hasn't even got the right rims on it, blah, 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 whatever. And then I think once he's twigged as to what was going on, there was a giant backpedal. Whether or not this was intentional or not, I don't know. But my thought was when he announced, I'm going to buy the bike and give it away, dude, you can't buy this level of marketing exposure. When something is that viral and it's running that hot, you just got to jump on it and try and make it work. And we all know that this raffle thing for some people is a very good business model. So he's like, right, let's make this thing happen.
Yeah, he's not a dummy. He's a smart dude.
No. And then there's a big backpedal of, oh, I was never going to buy it. I just wanted to flesh the person out or this and that. And why would I spend money on that piece of shit? And rah, rah, rah. I think it was all pretty smart. He ended up spinning it to a YZ250 giveaway that he's got on the go at the moment. There you go. There's a free plug for you, mate. But he did pretty well in that sense. And I think he even admitted in a story, like an Instagram story, that if he had have known a little bit more and if he had have known how tainted the name of the auction was when he tried to jump on the bandwagon, he probably wouldn't have aligned his company with it, which is, yeah, I wouldn't have either.
Yeah, yeah. And probably the main thing from his point of view, if I was him, I'd be thinking he would have started hearing about, oh yeah, not genuine this, like the actual bike itself wasn't probably what it was cracked. It wasn't an $80,000 bike really in the end. So then he's like, I think maybe, I don't know the guy, but maybe he would have still been on board if it was like a nicely created bike that he could have got for that money because he would have been, you know, it would have worked out. But the fact is he wouldn't want to be the dummy that paid 90 grand for a fucking bike that's covered in plastics and been ridden and it's like, it's just not what it is.
Yeah.
That's probably the main reason, I would assume anyway.
Yeah.
Either way, whatever. What a waste of time. What a fucking circus.
Absolutely. No, and that's probably the last you're going to hear of it from us.
I'm sick of hearing about it.
Yeah, everyone is, honestly. Like I say, it's yesterday's news now, and everything's gone real quiet because I believe that there'd probably be some legal action going down at the moment. So I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash. It always does. I'm sure poor Deacon is chomping at the bit to say something, but he probably legally can't. So, yeah. I'm done with it now. It's yesterday's news. I was just fortunate enough, I guess, to be at arm's length as it happened, and it was a wild experience. But yeah, for all the wrong reasons.
That's it. I want to change the subject. I'm going to fucking change the subject.
Well, I had a little segue, but you go.
I've got a segue too.
Send it.
Talking about red machines.
Okay.
I tested out our red machine from Custom Crimp.
Oh, yes.
Doing speed flow. So I finally got it out of the box, unboxed the bastard, and I've crimped a few lines.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking stoked.
Oh, how good.
How good. So I did a couple of brake lines up for our mate Darren.
Oh, clutch lines, yeah.
Oh, clutch lines, sorry.
in the end, yeah.
So that was really good, and I just did one test crimp because I'm like, righty, I haven't used this thing.
Yeah.
I've got a swag of fittings for two different vehicles, and the biggest one's like a 16 with a 550 series, like an expensive fitting. I'm like, well, we won't start with that one.
Yeah, you don't
so
start
I went with a
with
little -6 straight end, so if I fucked it up, it wasn't going to cost me too much to replace it. So, yeah, super stoked on it.
Yeah.
Because we've had it sitting there for quite a while.
Man, the lines, you just can't beat crimp, hey? And like you say, we did the little -3 clutch lines. You just do the brrrr, press it, get it out. It just looks nice.
It looks good. It's got the...
Very compact.
I feel like it sounds lame, but it's got like the race car look to it, the crimp fittings.
Yeah.
Because look, let's be honest, people like the look of things.
Yeah.
How many people in the Commodore world want a fucking manifold, an intake manifold that looks cool?
Yeah.
It needs to fit under the bonnet and it needs to look cool. I don't give a fuck if it drives like shit. It just has to have, for some reason, 2 throttle bodies on it.
Yeah.
I don't care where you put the cunts, but I want
And
2
one of
throttle
them-
bodies.
one of
I
them's
don't
off-
want to cut the bonnet.
Yeah. One of them's off an XF Falcon, but it doesn't matter.
Oh no, hey, they're all right, those ones. I've got one of them on mine, so you just you shut your whorish mouth about the XF throttle bodies for a second. So yeah, it's got like the gangster look about it, but what I like from an assembly point of view is anyone that's done 200 series. It's not the worst job in the world, but it's also, if you can avoid rooting around peeling back the stainless steel braid to put the olive on the liner and stuff.
Stab your finger.
Yeah, you're guaranteed to stab your finger. There's just get used to that fact. It's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, making them, I didn't have to deal with that. Much quicker. Also, side note, the fittings are very, very slightly cheaper because obviously there's a little bit less
Yep.
work that goes into. You don't need to have the hex and the assembly, and there's no olive and stuff like that. So
Yep.
you can get swivels, a lot of swivels, so you don't actually need to clock them where they need to be. So that's good for us if we can start doing lines for people, because that's essentially why we invested in this thing. We had a couple of cars that we want to do, plus yours. I'll probably redo some on my car as well.
Yeah.
A sizable investment, but yeah, we want to start selling Speedflow. Like, we love the product and we believe in it, and it's a way that we can monetize what we're doing here at Talk Hub. So we don't want people giving us shit for free. We've invested in the product and the company, and we want, we promote it to the listeners and the viewers and stuff all the time. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting some more, I guess, marketing happening, and maybe coming up with a few products that were sort of more universal in a way that we can get out to the punters.
Not necessarily universal is going to be hard, but let's just
say application specific.
Yeah. So let's say for an injected 5 litre, you wanted to get rid of that hard line at the front of the fuel rail. We might be able to do a kit where you get a -8 crimp, nice black braided or stainless braided, depending on what you want. Nice little bridging hose for that. Or it might be able to do, like if you've got, say, a low fab Astra power steering, we might be able to do some power steering lines for you, like that kind of thing.
Yep.
That's something that we want to get into, and we've got all the dies to do anything from -3 to -16. And you don't have to do it in 550 series if you don't want to. 550 series is the gangster, lightweight, super bendy, like really, really nice hose. But Speedflow now do crimp fittings for the ordinary 200 series Teflon hose as well.
The hose. So the fitting's about the same. Like the cost of the fitting's not really any different, but the line there's a bit of a price difference there in the line. The 550 stuff has like a convoluted liner, so like Jeff just alluded to, it's super bendy. It's really good. So I've bought a lot of stuff for this Maloo that we're doing with the dry sump system, because there's a lot of tight turny stuff, and it's all sort of 12 and 16, so not a lot of room in there. So I went with the stainless steel braid on that particular application, just because you can get like a -16 stainless steel braided line with a center line radius when you bend it of like 3 inches. It's like half of what you can do with some of the other stuff or more. So,
and the fittings are more compact as well, because you don't have quite so much length on the assembly. Because like you said, you don't have the inner, then the olive, then the collar. Like you've just got an inner, and then you got the crimp, and it's done. It's far more compact. It's far more flexible. It's just an all-round thing. I mean, because we had the machine on the way, I guess, at the time when we were at Motivation, we were looking around at some of the cars in the Elite Pavilion. It was the VF Ute, which had, I believe it looked like it was 200 series, and then we went to the HQ Coupe, which had crimp on it.
Yes.
And you can see the bulkiness. You can see there's a very distinct, very noticeable difference between an ordinary 200 series, which is still very
good stuff. Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously the hard part for people is they want crimp, but they can't justify either A, paying someone to make the hoses for them, or B, don't want to put up the 5K plus for the crimp.
Yeah, well, it's a lot more than that when you're tooled up. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the weight as well. Like, so with the 550 series stuff, if you go with the aramid fiber, the black sort of stuff, which is what most people sort of are doing these days, it's super lightweight as well. So when weight is a concern,
probably not for a normal street car like us, but if you are doing a race car, ounces make pounds, and if 50 pounds is the difference, it's well worth it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I got some satisfaction making up those lines, and I've got a whole car that I've got a big weekend ahead. Me and Jaden are going to hammer this other sleeper wagon that we've got in at the moment, or that I've got in. So fuel system and transmission, coolers and tons of stuff. Pretty much a full plumb front to back. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm keen to get that one all.
Knocked out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys if you are interested, if you do want to buy some speed flow, you can get it through us. We've got our own account set up now. So obviously we don't have a giant flashy shop with a whole wall full of fittings. So there would be a bit of lead time. However, if you want to support your boys, we'll try and look after you as best we can. And that, not just crimp fittings, anything speed flow.
Yeah.
So you can get anything through us and we'll be able to ship it out to you. Be happy to help out the viewers where we can.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
if you do want crimp, or if you do want, whether it be 200 series, 550 series, or if you have some hoses, it'd be even better. If you have hoses that you want to upgrade to crimp, you can send them to us and then we can just remake them in the crimp for you. So
Yep, that's it.
Get in
Also,
touch.
if you've got any ideas on things that you think might be good that a lot of other people might want that we could make up, let us know, because that'll help us out. That's just stuff that we can put on the store. We can make up a couple and have them in stock and have them available for you guys or your friends or whatever.
Yep.
That's how we want the support. You're getting something.
Yeah, we don't
getting
want
something.
we don't want nothing for free. We said that to everybody right from the start. If you are going to support us in a financial level, I can't remember what the word I was going to use there, but in a financial level, we want to give you something in return, and not just anything. You're not just going to get a token. You're going to get a gangster shirt or some really nice Australian engineered products.
Damn straight.
That was a good segue though.
Fucking was, eh? That's why I jumped on it and just thought,
Yeah, done well. And speaking of, shirts and things, if you want, talkhub.com.au, you can go to our web store. It's cold. We've got hoodies. And I'm not just saying it because they're ours, but they are probably the best hoodies getting around. I love our hoodies.
I'm getting another freshie just because
Because it's a
I
new
know
winter.
a bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about giveaways before with the MWMX thing.
Mm-hmm.
Could this be tailoring towards the end of giveaways for a lot of people? There was a point in time where your news feed was chock-a-block full of people giving away not only cars,
Everything.
but computers, engines,
Caravans, boats,
everything.
everything.
It's
Good on 'em
really,
too, I reckon.
it's really starting to slow up a little bit, I've noticed.
You know why?
Well, times are tough.
Exactly. I think a lot of the expendable cash is sort of, that inflation's just kicking punters square in the ball sack.
And I'm wondering if the desirable options are starting to dry up. So the reason I sort of say that is Keep It REIT. We mentioned them earlier because they've done a bunch of cool events and stuff, but they did a lot of auctions. Now, Jason Ferret has just sort of said they're not going to be doing any more GDRs. There was a long video that he did, explaining as to why. It was all, very serious and heartfelt, and he wants to go back to what Keep It REIT was supposed to be, rather than just pumping out high level GDRs all the time.
I dare say he's not making as much money either.
And I'd say it'd be a hell of a lot of pressure to A, look for the cars, B, upgrade the cars so that they're appealing for the raffle or the whatever giveaway, and then the marketing time. It's all very, you're under the pump the whole time.
It's probably fairly stressful when you're spending the sort of coin that they would have got up to buy a car, to then be like, fuck, I hope this one does well, because I dare say there would be ones where maybe they don't make any money or they lose money.
Yeah.
You can't just bust out the old fucking Boyup Brook Auction theory and just fucking, pack her up, boys. All good. You've committed and you got to do it, and you've got to probably put in a shitload of work. And following the trend, it's probably just getting harder and harder because less and less people. Either maybe there's people that have been doing it for fucking the last 2 or 3 years that are like, fuck this, I haven't won it. I haven't won anything. This is, I'm sort of over it. I'd rather do something else.
Sick of making a donation.
And also, I guess maybe just the whole, it's not a new thing anymore. People are just getting maybe sick of seeing it all the time. So it's one of those things. Nothing lasts forever. I'm sure they've done extremely well out of it.
Oh, you'd hope so. Yeah, you'd certainly hope so. I think, it's got to come to a close at some point. I think people like LMCT Plus are going to keep going. They're the juggernauts, you know what I mean? Like they've had the market hold, and I think their business model probably
doesn't really rely on it.
Yeah, I was going to say their business model, even just that particular business alone, not necessarily the rest of the network, but you get a lot for your membership is what my impression is. I'm not an LMCT member, so if you are, let us know in the comments as to why you think the value for money is there. But I think because of the network of businesses that they have and the access that they have, you can tap into a lot and get a lot of value for that membership.
Yeah,
so,
even if you don't win a car or cash or whatever.
Which, again, like you're saying, people going, oh, I've never fucking won anything through these blokes and I've been donating for God knows how long, I'm done. Maybe with some other companies, they go, look, I've never won anything, but I did save $200 on my service and I did get a 10% discount at this car wash or something like that, you know, which I guess that's the aim of the game, is to give value to the customer.
Absolutely. Yep.
But it just made me wonder. And then not only that, of raffles and giveaways wrapping up, but we're seeing a trend of a lot of very prolific, very high-profile YouTubers and podcasters are starting to call it a day.
Had enough, you reckon?
Well, yeah. You've got people like, was it Matt from Demolition Ranch? You got the fella from Outdoor Boys. You got one dude from the Alpha Blokes podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of the fellas from the Alpha Blokes podcast is wrapped up. He's out. They've got a new fella sitting in his spot. So it makes me wonder what's happening. I mean, the guy from Outdoor Boys, he basically said that it's got to a level where he can't live a normal life anymore. And you've got Hollywood A-listed actors and actresses, right? And they can't walk down the street without paparazzi snapping photos in front of them. They've set themselves up for that for a long time. But the thing with social media is that you can blow up overnight. You can go from being average Joe who has a suburban house in a normal neighborhood, and now all of a sudden people are coming to your house. People are, wanting to take photos with you while you're out for dinner with your family. And I think there's an interesting trend of, is it because the average Joe isn't ready for fame or doesn't want the fame? I mean, we're kind of in that boat. We don't want to be famous. We just want to do our car stuff. But unfortunately, when you do put yourself out there, people do recognize you. Or is it not so much that he wasn't, or these people weren't ready to be famous or didn't realize what came with the fame? Is it more so that Joe Public are not following a good etiquette?
I don't think it's either of those things for the most part.
No?
I think people just get sick of fucking having to work. Like, if you do this for a job, like we don't, this is just something we do for fun.
And it's not always fun.
You don't ever get it unless you're like really good and you've got a good team and you're really smart with your planning. You have to keep making videos to make money.
Yeah.
And like the guys and when you're doing it for, depending on how well, some people never make any money.
Yeah.
So like, why would you want to just keep working every fucking day for not much money or whatever? Like people have families, they want to go on holidays. Oh no, I can't do that because there's not going to be any money, or maybe they're not making enough money to do that. It's just, I think a lot of it would, with the content creators, I think that would happen a lot. Like, I'm sure that's why Al
I was
going to
say, yeah. I was going to say, we even saw it in the Australian automotive scene with Al sort of stepping away from the skid factory, and now his son's sort of picking up the baton and covering some of his builds. But you can definitely tell that Al is not so much. He's not as Turbo Yoda as he was, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I
because
mean?
you're tied to that. You're tied to that shed every single week, and you got to make videos, and especially with the content that they made, that particular, which is like, we're guilty of making that same style content sometimes, and it's hard work.
Yeah.
All the editing and just you have to. It's not always fun.
It's a hard one to pick. I mean, have some people just made enough money that they don't have to do it anymore? Because here's the other thing, right? People start going down the content creation side of things when they say they're going full time, right? They've finally built up the viewership where they can go, I'm going full time and I'm going all in on YouTube. And that's because that gives them freedom, right? And I'm saying in inverted commas for the people who are listening and not watching. Freedom. You get this level of freedom where you get to film the content that you want. You get to go the places that you want and talk to the people that you want. You know, like there's this overarching freedom that sort of comes with it. But like you say, then there comes a week where you have to film that video that you don't really want to film because you've got to get the video out.
Or even worse, you've got nothing to film.
Yeah.
For some reason, because things are not always going to line up.
Yeah.
And it's not just about filming a video, I guess. You got to film a video that someone's going to want to watch too. So it's a lot. I'm sure it's a lot of hard work.
It just makes me worried that, what happens when a lot of these high quality creators are stepping away from the business? I mean, in one aspect, it means that an up and comer can sort of take their place. You've obviously got to sort of step up, but you can sort of take their place, and that helps breed the next generation, I guess. But what happens if that place isn't taken up?
Look, I would never want to put myself in a position where I'm relying on, first of all, a platform that you have no control over. So YouTube can just shut you down at any point in time.
Yeah.
You don't want to be putting all your eggs in a basket that you have no control over. Listen to that.
Jesus. Big diesel.
Yeah, so it's not a good business model, and probably not a smart thing to do if you've got overheads like bills and families to support. You probably don't want to be relying on just videos. You want to have other avenues of income.
Yeah, a very diverse income stream.
Yeah, so I mean, whatever it is, at the end of the day, each to their own.
Yeah. Speaking of the content side of things, we talk about him a lot, but Cletus and the Cheap Car Challenge, that went down in between our last podcast and now. Was it a total piss take?
It was entertaining, and that's all I care about.
Yes.
It was so good.
It
I was
was.
I'd say I watch probably 90% and 95% of what he does. There's some stuff where I'm just like, no, I'm not real interested in that. I won't watch it. But he pretty much knocks it out of the park most of the time.
Yeah.
I was real excited about that. I was even, I messaged you or I messaged Jay and be like, fuck, how's Jack Stand in the everyone was just like, Jack Stand was the man of the people this time, eh? All of a sudden we're all just like shady bootlegging, cheating motherfuckers, and we're all just like, just go, let him, he'll be right.
But I mean, what was it? You had 7.5 or 10 grand or whatever for them to have the cars that they did, and because of the way that the rules were set, right? It wouldn't have been as entertaining, obviously, if they didn't have the shenanigans, shall we call them?
Yeah, it wasn't about winning.
No. But would there be a market? Because you see a lot of people in the comments going, hey, why don't you just do this properly? Like, say, let's talk Australian dollars. And I think Scotty's tried to do it with the 12s for 2K or whatever. But if we were to say, right, you got a $10,000 budget, you got to purchase a vehicle and modify it and run a number, do you think that there would be a level of success for entertainment there?
Oh, there's entertainment value. It depends who's involved and what's happening.
True.
I don't think it has anything to do with budget, and
But would it be more relatable, though, is what I'm saying?
I don't think people always say that word. Oh, it's not relatable. You don't care if it's relatable or not. You're just either jealous because you can't do what they can do. Honestly, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You're jealous because you can't do what they can do. And guaranteed, anyone that's doing anything has fucking worked hard, or they're smart and they've figured it out. So all the people that talk about relatable, you're full of shit. You're just jealous, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I like watching people build cool shit that I can't afford to do right now or have no desire or whatever.
When I say relatable, so say if I'm talking to you and I say, oh, I like watching that because it's relatable. What I mean is that it relates to my interest. As in, that's something that I'm interested in. It doesn't necessarily be relatable because it's something that I can attain.
Yeah, well, people only watch what they're interested in, so that's sort of, you're not going to...
I don't know.
It either is or it isn't.
It makes me wonder, because some people watch people are watching this right now.
Yeah, but the point I wanted to make was, after what you've just said, is you're never gonna. There's a grey area for a reason, and you are never going to be able. There will always be something that's open to interpretation, both ways. Someone's going to think it's not fair, and other people are going to figure out a way to do it. I think what are you trying to achieve at the end of the day when you have a competition and there's a winner? What do you want? Do you want just the entertainment, or do you want to see who's, it's because racing's a thing of either knowledge and teamwork and money. Like usually the people that have the most money can develop the best teams
to get it done.
If you've got the best team, you're going to win. Not necessarily the most money, but you need the componentry to go fast.
Yeah.
So what are the people that are jumping up and down about rules and stuff? See, I just thought it was funny and entertaining, and it was awesome. I don't care about the rules. I couldn't give a shit. The cars were fairly evenly matched. It didn't matter who won.
Yeah.
So like, if you want to, what are you trying to achieve in racing? It's money or knowledge or whatever. If you really want to know who's the best, give each person a fucking identical car. Which is kind of what he's already done with the circle track stuff.
Yeah,
that he
well,
does.
I was just about to say you could do that because he's got 800,000.
Exactly,
Crown
but
Vics.
No one probably really wants to watch a Crown. Like drag racing's different because there's not that much driver skill involved compared to circle track in a low power car.
Less strategy as well.
Exactly. So the other way you could do it is not have a budget and just have all the cars the same, and then you build your team. And then whoever can make that car do what it needs to go down.
So they all get a pro line.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, if you're going to talk about what's cheating and what's fair and what's not, all right, let's do that. But look, I'm not that interested in watching all the same car. That's the same reason I don't really watch supercars. I don't watch NASCAR. I don't watch any of the sort of Formula One. I don't watch that. I don't watch any of the shit where it's all the same stuff because, once again, it comes down to who's got the most money and the best team. So, like, you're not getting away from that. So that's it. They made a sweet video series. It was fair enough.
Yeah.
Honestly, to a point, man, it's not like he did it the super easy button way. Like, he had a fucking engine that could have quite easily just eaten itself, chewed lifters up like Skittles on all that driving that it did. Like, I bet there were people that were thinking, there's no way that thing's going to make it that long, whether it be because of the fact that they don't want to drive it that far, or I'm sure he lost some hearing.
Oh, guaranteed, yeah.
Like,
that would not have been an enjoyable. I mean, I'm sure they had fun, but it wouldn't have been enjoyable.
At points.
Oh,
I couldn't believe how fast it went, honestly. Like, it was a pretty stout little combo. Those cars are fairly well set up for, considering that was not that any car's ever intended for drag racing, but it's not your typical Fox body or whatever platform that you normally drag race. It's sort of, S13s aren't known for drag racing for the most part.
No.
So I thought it's pretty sick.
You got a naughty little inkling for an S chassis, don't you?
I do. I don't, I'm not an import guy, but I do.
Like the platform.
Yeah, I can't think of any scenario where I would buy an import over I've got a good list of other cars that I would have before that. But as far as a race car, if something like, I would love to do a 14. I like the 14 Kookies.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what White Rice is. So that sort of, I like that shape. That's my favourite one. And it just so happens to be a good platform. So that'd be cool.
It would be.
Because one day we'll have to stop doing Commodore stuff, but we're not even talking about that because we got Commodore stuff to do.
Yeah, a lot of it.
So yeah, I really did enjoy the cheap car challenge, and fuck, they look like they just had an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed the series. I feel like it was taking the piss. I kind of feel like if they did do a legit budget, that would appeal to a different audience, but I don't think it would be as successful.
I don't think it would be as entertaining, which is that's the only purpose that he has to do is make funny videos. I enjoyed the banter. You'd be kidding yourself if you thought that everyone sort of all the drama about what Jack Stan was doing that only added to the video.
Yeah,
there was nothing that anyone did on that video that took away from that series. Where if you've ever watched what was the one? Here I am with my typical self.
Was it the Horsepower
Wars?
Wars?
Horsepower Wars years ago. Which is
where the famous car Beer Money originated. That was from Horsepower Wars.
I watched that one. I believe it was years ago now, quite a few years ago. But they've done that one a number of seasons.
And that was a $10,000 budget, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought that was entertaining, but people are still going to cheat. I know for a fact there was one certain Australian that was in one of the teams that cheated one of the years. I believe they won it, and the talk was, and he admitted it afterwards, that they'd bought a converter from a shop and got it spec to whatever. Obviously, these people know, sort of roughly where you're going to land and what you want to do. So they bought a converter and then burnt it and made it look secondhand and said that they bought it off, Craigslist or Marketplace or whatever. And it turns out it was a brand new, like something spec to what they knew roughly what they were going to do. And so that sort of shit's going to happen. And that's, I don't know. I quite like a little bit of sneaky stuff here and there because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I've found myself...
If you can get away with it.
I've found myself watching, like I told you before, I don't watch NASCAR or anything like that, but some of the old stories on like Dale Earnhardt's show or even just some other shows where there's some old timers from NASCAR talking about stories of all the different cheating and stuff they used to do. Yeah. They'd put lead shot in the chassis rails and they'd drop it out once they got on the track, and they would scale their cars down so it was like 1/16 smaller than a factory one. They did all sorts, and that stuff I
kind
love.
of like the old pro stock stuff as well, where they had nitrous in the chassis, like the roll cage is full of nitrous.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. And if you can get away with it, then like whatever.
Yeah,
that's why like outlaw racing is good, because you can the more rules doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I find that stuff interesting anyway, and I like it. So
yeah.
If you're not cheating, then you're just losing, in a lot of
more than likely.
Yeah, one of my friends, Kyle, he's into speedway and stuff, and he said you have to cheat to lose.
To win.
No, you have to cheat just to lose.
Oh, right.
So you have to be really good at cheating to win. So,
yeah.
So, and I'm sure people that race know that.
Yeah. I think all races, particularly class racing, it's all in the grey area, right? You read the black and the white in the rule book and you go, right, this is what I can...
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what really grinds my gears? Running on the chip.
On the chip, Curto, powered by our good friends at Reed Speed. Who's got some more Reed Speed goodness the other day.
Yes, I'm fitted one of his Gangster RS1 supercharger kits to the car I'm working on at the moment. A Whipple supercharged, really nice 355 actually.
Funnily
with
enough,
all the fruit, as they say.
Oh yeah,
all the fruit.
Yeah, fully built.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's a real nice combo actually. So. Funnily
enough, when I was at the auction, there was a one of the punters I was chatting to. He was a Talk Hub viewer. He was telling me about his Statesman. He's got a Statesman, and he just bought a Whipple blower kit for it. And, he's kind of in the throes of, do I fit it? Do I build an engine first? Whatever. Anyway, later in the day, he actually won the auction for the VT Manta that was on auction, got a permit and drove it home, which is pretty cool in itself. I said to him after the auction, I said, so you're still putting that blower on the Statesman, or are you going to put it on the VT now? And he's like, oh, fuck, I don't know. He said, but the drive and that'd be different. I said, that's fine, man. You need an RS1 kit from Reed Speed. Because he does do one to suit the Whipple. So be rude if you didn't.
Yeah.
Anyway. For on the chip, Curto, something that gets me buzzing. And this is another thing that sort of went viral over the internet over the last couple of weeks, was the Clay Wong versus 310 Autosport shenanigans. Now, what gets me on the chip is how this fucks it for everyone else like us. You've got the Clay Wong situation where, if you haven't seen it, build a car on a tight time frame to be launched at the Grail Racing show in Brisbane, needed it detailed, someone stuck their hand up to say, yeah, we can do it.
Well, he approached them.
Yeah. Said, hey, one of your friends recommended me to you guys. Would you be keen to do a collab detail? They said yes. It was literally an overnight, like, it has to be at the show tomorrow. The car looked like absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
Absolute dog shit.
Peeled to the mat. It was just
fucking horrible.
It was a horrendous job.
It was fucking
It wasn't a show. It shouldn't have been really shown or called a show car.
And even the end result, still a horrible looking car, but far and away better than it was. Old mate from 310 did a magnificent job. Now, the problem there was, again, we sort of said the same thing with the Commodoreman situation, but expectations were not outlined prior.
From the get-go, yeah.
Clay obviously thought that he was getting it sponsored. Old mate thought it was going to be like, yeah, we'll help you out. It might be a discount or whatever. But none of this conversation happened prior to putting a buffer pad on the car. That is the problem. Now, the detailer obviously did a 3-part, 4-part series on their social media, basically outing Clay for not responding, not paying, whatever. And I'm led to believe this is all sorted out now, right? Which is great. That's a great result in that he's gone back to the detailer. They've come to an agreement, paid the money. Mint.
He would have only... I'm just going to be Curto here. He would have only done that because of all the flack that he would have got, because I think those guys got a fair amount of exposure talking about it. Or
but not
whatever,
only that, like he's gotten more exposure for it as well, right? So he's got more traffic going to his videos or his page because now people are commenting on his shit going, oh, you're a piece of shit, whatever. So he's got mass engagement. So he's probably like, fuck, makes me look like the good guy if I go and pay for it, right? So anyway, what this does is now you've got people like ourselves, Kurt, where, I mean, we're pretty shy in approaching people to collaborate for sponsorship or discount or whatever as it is.
Yeah,
but
we'd have to be doing some videos.
Yeah, but now it just makes it all that much harder because other businesses are now seeing what's happened here and we're not going to get caught out like that. We're just not interested in working with content creators.
Yeah, I don't ever want to be considered that.
No, you don't want to be considered that, but that's, if you're making videos and you're approaching someone and saying, hey, can we work together? We'll use our platform to promote you if you can help us out. That's what it is. And now you've got a lot of people and I think people are getting over the whole content creator thing anyway, because this isn't just Clay Wong. This is a lot of people.
Most people.
This is the most recent and most high profile for the automotive space, which is why we're talking about it. But this is what pisses me off is that you've got people that are feel entitled because they've got a bunch of followers online. B, don't have the business sense or nous to outline expectations, or they're all take and
exactly. I was going to say it's more basic than that. It's a mindset thing. It's what can I get for me?
Yeah.
Which is, it's just what a lot of people, look, some people's mindset is like that for whatever reason, for which one or another.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
And I get that if you do have, say, 200,000 followers and you can, if you're a business and you'd spend XYZ amount of money on a billboard to advertise your business where 200,000 cars drive past it and only 1,000 people are even fucking remotely interested, you kind of just throwing money down the drain. I think investing money into advertising with content creators is far better value for money because you are presenting it directly to your target audience. Way more efficient way of doing it. So I can see the value in investing in that kind of advertising. However, you've got to be getting that mutual benefit.
I think if you are that good, if you've got a big following and you are that good, as they say, put your money where your mouth is and don't ask for things up front. Go, look, I can sell whatever, this amount of this or whatever, and you just give me like a cut or a commission or something like that. Like there are other ways around it that can be beneficial to both people instead of just, I want this for free and I've got a big following and whatever.
Yeah. On the other side of the coin, flip the coin over, this was sort of happening concurrently, so it was at roughly the same time. There was Hannah's Murals. I came across a reel of theirs where they did a beautiful mural for a very well-known surf brand, Rusty. Had their logo and everything on it. Beautiful mural. She filmed herself going up and painting over the Rusty logo, claimed that she was owed $15,000 for the mural. They didn't pay. So she said, mural's still nice, I'm going to leave it there, but the background color. I'm just going to use that to paint over the logo. And so she filmed doing that and posted it. That got 13 million views. It's a little person sticking it to the man, right?
Yep.
And then there's some people that say it's all about the money, whatever, this, that, and everything else. But she's claiming that if they pay, I'm going to put the whole lot to charity. Because, look, 13 million views, she's probably made a little bit of money because, you know, TikTok's monetized in the States.
So what was the story, though? They paid her a commission?
So they commissioned her to do a mural on a building. This is a big mural.
Their building?
I don't know if it's their building or not, but commissioned to do the mural. She's painted the mural. It's got the logo on it. It's all schmick. She's obviously invoiced them, hasn't been paid, repeatedly asked to be paid, hasn't been paid. So, you know, took it.
That's a common thing that you
artists.
see. Well, not even artists, tradesmen as well. I've seen videos, of people busting up concrete that hasn't been paid for, and I'm all for it, honestly.
Because I mean, I guess what would Rusty be saying, or what would their defense be for not paying? There isn't one. Just before you jump on me, I know there isn't. But would they be going, well, we post your mural on our socials and that's...
No. There would have been, if there was an
So
agreement...
this comes to the same thing, like, oh, we've got a bigger following than you, so we're worth more money than you are.
Yeah, but it all comes down to what was spoken or not spoken about at the start, isn't it?
Well, in this case, there was a contract.
Exactly. So, and look, the details could be the person that, you know, initially wanted it done, didn't get approval from the big boss, and he's like, nah, you didn't get approval, I'm not paying.
Or the design was changed.
Doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, from her end, she was, you know, she wouldn't have done it for free. So,
No.
And I'm thinking, if all she did was cover up the logo, that's pretty good, really.
Yeah. I just think, it leaves a very sour taste. This whole, both what happened in Brisbane and what's happened here overseas, it's just, there's got to be a time where people pull their fucking head in and start being more honest about what their intentions are. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. But that's not the way society's heading or geared, is it? It's all, you know, people's headspace isn't always in that thing.
Yeah.
So.
Like I say, we're not even sort of really remotely there, but it did really get me on the chip, you know, over the week. It's just like, why? What is the go here in the content creation space or in the creatives space that's creating these issues? I don't know. Shout out to all yous. Pull your fucking heads in.
Yeah,
there you go. I said it.
it's
Pull your fucking heads in. Have the conversation. Be a fucking adult and stop ruining it for the rest of us.
It's everywhere, really, in your life. It's not just people that make videos. I'm sure people are getting stiffed every single day by, you know, someone says they're going to do something, then they don't do it.
Athletes.
Whatever.
Yeah, all that.
Whatever.
Anyhow, let's shift on to the best part of the show.
Go on in.
Hello.
Blower wine. Curto, tell them about it.
Go to the website, talkup.com.au. There'll be a voicemail button. It's red. Click on that bugger. And you can leave us a message. You can listen to it back, so if you don't like it, you think you sound like a weirdo, delete it, send it again. We do want to hear from you. Stories.
Send us your conspiracies, your funny stories, ask us questions. If you've just found a really cool part or some new technology that could be relevant to the audience that you think's awesome, call us, tell us about it so we can have a discussion.
That's it. Maybe you've got some good feedback to leave instead of some bad feedback like we were just talking about. Maybe maybe a business over-delivered and you think other people should know. And
What?
You know what I mean?
Someone under-promised and over-delivered.
It could be.
Didn't fucking happen.
It could be. So anything like that, get on it.
Yeah.
Or if you listen, look, another thing, if you listen to us and you're all about it and you've got a business, fucking just shout yourself out. Fuck it.
100%.
We'll probably just play it.
If you're one of our homies, and we'll know if you're one of our homies, because you might not think we read the comments section a lot, but we do, and we can see the same names that pop up week after week. If you're one of them, you're one of our homies, and we love you. First caller, Kurdo.
All right.
Yo guys, Alex from UFO Sorcery Engineering, the French Fane from Netherlands speaking to you right now. Just to want to say that I freaking enjoy that you regroup all the podcast episodes in one dedicated channel. Only 226 subscribers. That's a shame. People should just consider subscribe and give some love, share with people, because your community is very important and you deserve more attention for the people and for the car enthusiasts in Australia or whenever in the world.
Thanks,
Just want to tell you that I freaking enjoy the episode with the Barra-powered R33 Skyline from Jaden Dalton. Such a G's. After this podcast, I just watching his YouTube channel and watching the past with the R33 Skyline. It's just amazing how quick he's moving. And this thing providing to me more motivation and more inspiration to finish my own project, actually, was finished at this moment. But we encounter such a lot of issue with the AN feed line that was too little. And this occurred to have a premature used issue with the turbocharger. So we have to change the turbocharger, unfortunately. But that's a good thing. Using more money and spread out some money inside the project. So we go from a 94 millimeter Pro Mod to a 106 millimeter Pro Mod from my brand. And considering that we will go to Dyno June 26th, technically we should be able to do crazy. We already do crazy, so we decide to condemn the whole turbo and we do 300 kph of boost pressure, which is amazing. Yeah, I feel a little bit dangerous. I don't gonna to tell no, but that's a Skyline with a Barra engine. So what did you expect from that? Anyway, wish you to have a very good day, evening, whatever. Take a good care of you guys. Talk up for life, and see you in the next episode. Cheers.
Speaking of regular contributors, one of our OGs.
He is. I love hearing from Alex every time.
You hear
Makes
that?
me smile every time.
You hear that French accent, and you go, he's back.
He's back. Feels like home.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but it does.
Nah, thank you, mate, and thanks for sort of shouting out the dedicated YouTube channel. If you are listening to this on Spotify, we would appreciate it if you did pop over to the YouTube channel and give us a subscribe. That'd be awesome. And if you hit the thumbs up button, drop a comment. Look, we never ask, but it really does help. The insatiable algorithm, and it helps support us a lot. That's a way that you can support us for $0.
106 on the Barra.
A 106 mil on a Barra is fairly getting it.
Yeah.
What do you say? 300 kPa of boost pressure. I don't know what that is in pounds, but it sounds like a lot.
A 106 on a Barra.
Yeah. In a Skyline.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Speaking of Jaden's Barra-powered Skyline,
Yes.
formerly Barra-powered
Exactly.
Skyline.
Yes. Formerly. Look, is it even a Skyline anymore?
No. It was.
It was. It looks kind of like a Skyline still.
It's got a.
Well, it will kind of.
It's got a
like
Skyline steel roof and quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to catch up with Jaden at some point. If you guys sort of followed along on that journey, then yeah, you'll know there's a fast forward race engines Coyote platform going in there, and it's gonna make big power and go really fast. And yeah, we'll be doing well. We bought a crimper and we're going to do all the plumbing on it. So
Yes.
you'll see it at some point.
Yeah.
But it's very exciting.
If you haven't listened, he did a podcast with us, as Alex alluded to. So if you haven't listened to it, go back, listen to that one. We speak on the new Coyote setup
but also how efficient the Barra setup was in that chassis as well. Again, we're not real JDM sort of boys, but that R33 platform, much like the S13 platform, seemed to work exceptionally well.
Yeah, the body worked good. It did have like a full rear end.
Yeah.
set up in it, so it was a pretty well set up car, and it just seemed to sort of work really quickly. He got that thing going pretty fast, well, exceptionally fast, in a pretty short amount of time. So
I agree.
we're really keen to see what he does with an extra couple of cylinders and another turbo. All the good stuff on that one too. A very, very impressive build so far.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a lot of fun when that thing gets rolling. I'm going to be super pumped. We haven't spent much time at the track over the last probably 2 years, Curto, but I feel like, you know, once our homies start getting out there, we'll be back on for sure.
Yep.
We got one more call, mate. If you'd like to don the headphones once more.
Hey lads, love the podcast. Just wanted to get your thoughts. I've seen the Commodoreman on Instagram put up a advertising an auction over in WA.
Funny
Some
that.
bloke's got a heap of old Commodores and stuff in his paddock, and there's a big auction on, and it just got me thinking how many other places out there on people's farms or properties that have got a lot of old cars that could have a lot of potential. And just with Australian motorsport, like, I don't know about you boys, but I just do not care about Bathurst or V8 supercars these days. Wondering if there's ever a world where potentially you get a crew of people that put in like a 90s Commodore and a 90s Ford, and they hire like some sort of event day and they race them and try and get the old Holden Ford battle back again. Don't know if it would be like some kind of restrictions on, you know, motors and that, something they could work out. But yeah, just want to get your thoughts on that. Cheers.
Cheers, Andrew. Yeah, the auction. We won't touch on that. We've been there, done that. But how many other properties do you reckon there would be that have a bunch of stuff stored away? There'd have to be a few. I mean, you're still seeing people pulling old, like, say, XT to XY, XC Falcons out, you know, or R to HK Holdens that are still in reasonable condition, stored dry in a shed down the back somewhere. Like, they're still out there.
Yeah,
They're
for
still
sure.
out there.
Probably not tons and tons of people with stacks and stacks of shit.
No.
But there's probably still a few, but there's definitely would be some diamonds hiding away for sure.
I think so. I think the post-COVID price hike on everything probably thinned out some people's collections because they would have seen the prices went
if
sky
they were
high
smart,
on shit, and they probably cashed out at the right time, or you'd hope.
That's what old mate should have done it with this auction. He
Probably.
should have done this fucking 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Say 3 years ago. He might have got closer to some of the stuff that he, like, sort of amounts that he wanted.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he missed the boat there.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, that time probably thinned out a few collections, but I think there'd still be some out there for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Farmers have always got the best shit. You know, they've always, go back in the day, they always had, they had a Monaro and they had a Statesman and, you know, whatever. And that's what, they had the Statesman as the town car. They had the Monaro because his mate wanted a Monaro and he could afford one. So he bought one to flex on his mate. And then he had a brand new John Deere next to it, you know?
Yeah.
They'd still be out there, I reckon.
Yeah, there'd be heaps of stuff that people wouldn't want to get rid of.
No.
Like, they've held on for too long and just like, yeah, I'll do something with it. And just haven't. So
Yeah. What do you reckon about the old race car thing? Should they do
They
a
do
tribute
that.
a tribute for like the old Group A? Well, I think they do it at Bathurst, don't they?
I'm sure there's.
But would there be, like, you could literally bring out an old rule set for old cars, and then all the Perkins stuff would come out, and, you know, like,
Yeah,
have a Group A
I'm sure
tribute
that
race.
that's like just lower classes of racing, and they already do that. I've watched, like, you know, early '90s Commodores versus older Holdens and older Fords and that. Like, yeah, it's not all exactly era specific, but there are. I'm sure there's circuit. I know nothing about circuit racing, but I have watched clips of people doing that stuff already. So I'm sure the people that want to do that,
Well,
you're never going to get the money. Like,
Yeah, there was the HQ series and there was the Hyundai XL series and stuff like that. That's really good grassroots sort of entry level stuff, and that's, you know, it's all very mandated on, you know, that's the rules the
Yeah.
rule set for engine and
Yeah, yeah.
you know blah blah blah. So it does become a driver's game, which is good, or
Yeah,
a
that's
tuner's
what you
game.
want.
Yeah, that is good. So I guess they are out there, but it would be cool if, like you said, they had one event where they brought out the genuine Brock race car and the genuine Perkins race car, and they actually put them out on a grid to race.
Yeah, I think most of those cars are owned by collectors now, and I don't know if you know much about racing or not, and especially wheel-to-wheel racing.
Shit gets bent.
Yeah, that's why, essentially. So the money you'd need to make it, yeah, you're just not really going to get the influx of money to race older Commodores. There's going to be very limited people that are going to be interested in watching that,
Yeah.
I think.
I think there's going to come a point in the not too distant future where they're all going to be pretty thin on the ground anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We're already starting to see, you know, the ones that are left are pretty haggard.
Yeah,
You know,
that's just the car scene as in general. You know, I've got a work friend that his young fella's looking for. He's just taken a liking to sort of turbo Falcons all of a sudden, and they started asking me, like, you know, oh yeah, you're a car guy. What do you reckon about this and that? And he's started talking about prices. I'm like thinking to myself, fuck, that's not right. I'll get on Marketplace and have a look. I'm like, oh shit, this stuff's gone up. I don't know if it's gone up because I've never looked for so long. But I mean, I'm not actively looking for XR turbos or F6s or anything. But I'm sure the value has gone up from where it was a couple of years ago, purely because there's nothing new coming in to replace it. So
yeah.
you know, people are holding on to them because you can't. What can you get? There's no newer thing. It's kind of looking a little bit dismal as for the.
Yeah, because I guess they got cheaper because people moved on to the next best thing.
Exactly.
What is the next best thing?
Well, there is nothing anymore.
Yeah. Like even when people say, "Oh yeah," people will start moving towards a Kia Stinger or something like that, which
That didn't last long.
sounded like Pride Week to me. But even that's not an option.
No.
So, yeah, you do hold on to that Turbo Falcon or that HSV, and if someone wants to pry it out of your hands, it's going to cost them.
Yeah, I think as a collective, the scene's only sort of getting smaller as the years go by as well. Less and less kids are getting interested.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to enjoy this hobby, or at least driving cars on the road.
Yeah.
You know, like street cars and modifying and stuff. It's just getting harder and harder to enjoy it, whether it be from a financial standpoint or
Regulatory.
yeah, or whatever. So look, we'll be kidding ourselves if we think we're in a growing economy here for that kind of stuff. The cars are getting thin on the ground. Like all you need to do is look at what all the young fellas are driving around now. They're all full drive type stuff for the most part. From what we see around here, anyway, it might be different
in different places.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Where we are in the southwest, everyone Hiluxes, D-Maxes, Tritons, whatever, and they're all set up for touring. I mean, my wife has her own business, and one of her employees, she's 18. Can you remember what we were doing when we were 18? We were just going clubbing Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. You do a Sunday sesh at the beach, and then you go to work on the Monday, right? You'd be going to these venues, and we had nice venues where you could go, good music, good drinks, whatever. This bird has never been to a nightclub. I think she's 19 now. She's still never been to a nightclub. She said they just jump in her boyfriend's ute. He's got a rooftop tent and that. They go find a spot out in the bush, bunch of friends. They get tunes cranking, they light a fire. That's what they do. They go drinking out there. They don't go out into town anymore because, and I think once the price of a domestic beer pint went past $10, because that was a justifiable price. I think pubs and things like that, this is going on a totally weird tangent, but yeah, I think once the price of a domestic beer pint exceeded $10, attendance at pubs and things decreased rapidly.
So what you're saying is car culture, down. Pub culture, down.
Why? Tax.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Governance.
Look, let's not
And
go
on
there.
that
Let's
note-
not go there, brother.
If you would like to support the channel, you can go to talkhub.com.au, and in return for some Australian dollars, we will give you some of the finest threads, whether it be a hoodie, a t-shirt, a hat, some stickers. We've even got socks, and they are excellent socks. So if you'd like to get some, jump on that. Or, as I said before, you can support us for $0 just by liking this video, dropping a comment and sharing it with a friend. Subscribe to the channel. Don't be a hoe. Share the show, as Adam Frisella says.
Yeah, and, don't forget, leave us a message. We do have a bit of a giveaway sort of thing popping up at some point soon. So we'll get to pick the best sort of message or whatever, and we'll send you
If you've hung around to listen this long on the podcast, I'll let you know. So we've got some, I'm calling them Yeti-ish. They're Yeti-ish stubby holders.
They're chetties.
Yeah, they're chetties from China. But very Yeti-ish stubby holders with bottle opener on the bottom. They've been laser engraved with the Torque Hub logo. We will not be selling these. You cannot buy them. Kurt and I don't even have one, but I've bought a small stack, which we're going to start putting together like a bit of a prize pack. Dan at Reed Speed's chipped in. He's sending us some of his merch to throw into a pack. We've spoken with Penrite. They've said they're not sure what they can give us yet, but they're going to give us something. And we're reaching out to a couple of other supporting businesses to put together a pack so that if you jump in with a voicemail and we think it's excellent or the best one of the episode, we'll hand out a prize pack. And that might even be for the videos like the vlogs or even just random Facebook posts as well. But there you go. If you were dedicated enough to hang around this long,
that's the scoop.
Say nice stubby holder or something in the comments, and then we'll know that you know.
Drop a subtle hint or not so subtle.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, watching, all that stuff, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace out.